Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about variation from the chapter Heredity and Evolution. And if you haven't subscribed my channel, please do subscribe, like and share. Due to this pandemic situation, CBSE has reduced 30% of our syllabus. And here also we have to learn only about heredity and evolution is not there for your exam. So let's see. If we observe a field of paddy or rice, we could find very little variations among the individual plants. But if you see animals, including human beings, they are reproducing sexually. We could see quite distinct variations among different individuals. And here we are going to study about the mechanisms by which variations are created and inherited. So before we start discussing about heredity and variation, we should know about genetics. What is genetics? It is a branch of science which deals with the study of heredity and variation. Genetics is the branch of science which deals with heredity and variation. And heredity is the transmission of characters. We can say it as traits from one generation to the next generation. That is, we are having some characters which are similar to our parents or grandparents. That is due to heredity. And variations are the differences in the characters or traits between the parents and offsprings. We are showing or having some differences from our parents. That is variation. There are two types of variation, somatic variation and gammatic variation. We know we have two types of cells in our body. One is reproductive cells and the other one is the body cells. The somatic variation takes place in the body cells. And they are neither inherited nor transmitted. And they are known as acquired traits. Why they are known as acquired traits? Because we are gaining or acquiring it during our lifetime. So it's not inherited. We cannot inherit or pass it from one generation to the next. Example, boring of earpinna. So the parent or mother is boring her earpinna, and when she is getting a girl child, so that girl child won't be having the earpinna bored. So that is a somatic variation which is not transmitting from one generation to the next. Other example is cutting of tails in dogs. If we cut the tails of dogs in this generation, but the next generation also, the dogs will born with tails. So these somatic variations are taking place in the body cells which are not transmitting from one generation to the next. Next is gammatic variation. These variations are inherited or as well as transmitted, and they are known as inherited traits. And they takes place in the gametes or reproductive cells. So gammatic variations are taking place in the gametes or in the reproductive cells, and they are transmitting from one generation to the next. Example, human height and skin color. If you wish also, you can't become so tall or so short because it is an inherited trait or inherited character. Accumulation of variation during reproduction. There are two types of reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. If the reproduction takes place without the involvement of sex organs, that is known as asexual reproduction, and if it takes place with the involvement of sexual organs, they are known as sexual reproduction. And during asexual reproduction, the variations are fewer or less. And it occurs due to small inaccuracies in DNA copying. especially during mutation. What is mutation? It is a sudden heritable change. So, some changes will happen suddenly, but it can transmit one generation to the next generation. That is known as mutation. And how this mutation takes place? In the DNA is the identifying properties of each individual. So, some inaccuracies are happening during the DNA copying. So, that leads to mutation. And that time, some changes are happening or variations are happening. So, that variations are very less. During sexual reproduction, the variation which takes place are large. And it occurs due to crossing over, separation of chromosomes and mutation. We have seen during meiosis that time the chromosomes have to separate and which are going to each side, and crossing over or the handing over of chromatin contents takes place, and that time also variation can happen or due to mutation. But what is the importance of variation? So during sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, variations are happening, and during sexual reproduction variations are more. And is there any importance of this variation? Yes, it increases the chance of its survival in a changing environment. We know all the organisms are adapted to its environment. If it is not able to adapt, it may die. So, the organisms are gaining or acquiring some variations during its lifetime to adapt to its environment. So, this helps the chance of survival in the changing environment. Example, the bacteria that can withstand heat, they will survive better in a heat wave. But the bacteria which cannot withstand heat cannot survive. And free earlobes and attached earlobes are two variants that found in the human population. So these are the variations. So variations, how it is happening, what is the importance of variation. I hope you all understood about variation. And this time CBSE has increased the number of MCQ questions. So you have to understand the concept clearly. Then in the coming videos we will be including more MCQs. So please do subscribe, like and share, and press the bell icon to get notification of the coming up videos. Thank you.